morning, everyone. In case you don't know me, my name is Chris Edkins. I'm a member of the worship committee, and I'm going to be presiding over our unique and unusual service today. We are doing Pancakes and Patriotism, and I was talking to one of our people who's helping out in the kitchen today, and they were like, "Oh, that explains a lot. You mean we're actually eating during the service?" I said, yes, that's exactly what we're doing. So that's not usually what happens here, but today our service is eating and people coming up and doing the readings and poetry, their favourite patriotic readings. So that is basically the essence of the service today. So I hope you will enjoy our unique take on our 4th of July celebration here at Westside. So welcome everybody to Westside Unitarian Universalist Church. We are a church that affirms the dignity of every single person, regardless of their age, their religious beliefs or their sexual orientation. We gather together to serve each other and the wider community. And I'm going to draw your attention to the announcements that are in the order of service. And for the people who are out there in YouTube land, those announcements will appear up on your screen. So take note of those things that are coming up in the near future. I don't think so, yeah. I would advise people who are at home out there to, like, have your pancakes ready, made, ready for you to eat while we're eating. Or get, like, if you don't have pancakes, then get, like, a box of cereal and some milk or something so that you can get out something and have something to eat while we're getting all our food. Because there'll be a little hiatus while everyone goes up and gets their pancakes and all that good stuff. So I'm going to light our chalice to begin with, and we'll also ring our singing bowl to start the service. The flaming chalice is the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith, and we also have our 2 community candles here, one to remember all the violence that people are going through in our society at the moment due to their sexual identity, and one for all the other things that are happening around the world, too numerous to mention, tragedies that happen every day that we want to recognize. At times, our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us. It's by Albert Schweitzer. And if you will bring yourselves into an attitude of reverence and quiet, and we will open our service by ringing our singing bowl. The reasons why we started having this service are twofold. One is that holiday weekends in the UU Church, it used to be that a lot of people were out of town visiting family and maybe attendance wouldn't be so high, so we thought, how can we get people in on a holiday weekend to encourage them to come in? So we thought serving them with free pancakes was a good option for that. And the other thing was that people outside the liberal religious tradition may have an impression that that we are not patriotic people, and we wanted to get together and show that we in this community also have a love of country and a desire to see our country thrive and go from strength to strength. So those are the two reasons. So that's why we are meeting today and eating and having reading. So if you have a reading that you brought with you, after we've got our food together, I'm going to invite people to come up and do their readings. If you haven't brought a reading with you, but you have a smartphone, you could go online now and find something that you would like to read while you're eating and come up and read that from your phone. That is quite acceptable too. But I want to just start things off before we go and get our food. We'll read this, which is from our hymnal, and I think kind of sums up a UU attitude towards love of country and patriotism. This is my song. This is my song, O God of all the nations, a song of peace for lands afar and mine. This is my home, the country where my heart is. Here are my hopes, my dreams, my holy shrine. But other hearts in other lands are beating, with hopes and dreams as true and high as mine. This country's skies are bluer than the ocean, and sunlight beams on clover leaf and pine. But other lands have sunlight too, and clover, and skies are everywhere as blue as mine. Oh, hear my song, thou God of all the nations, a song of peace for their land and for mine. Now we're going to take an offertory for the sustenance of the church. We have a Share the Plate partner that we are sharing our bounty with this month. It's the Worthy Now Prison Ministry Network that we had a service about recently that is supported by our membership coordinator, Elizabeth Corbett. So please give generously for the support of this community and for the wider community. Thank you. Thank you, Sandra. Lovely. Okay, let's eat. The food's on the table. Grab a plate, get some pancakes. There's bacon and coffee, so grab something to eat, and then when everyone's settled, we'll invite people to come up and do some readings. Okay, it looks like just about everybody's got their food, so if anybody wants to come up and if they have a reading they want to do, the microphone is open to anybody who wants to use it.
Hello, my name's Yetta Jager. I'm on a low-carb diet, so I've got nothing else to do but read. So, I'm actually an immigrant from the Netherlands, although I only lived there for a month or two after birth. But I consider myself very patriotic, but maybe not in the sense that a lot of people are. I'm going to read you a quote from Mark Twain, who was a little bit jaundiced on patriotism because of the times when he lived. He says, "A man can be a Christian or a patriot, but he can't legally be a Christian and a patriot, except in the usual way. One of the two with the mouth, the other with the heart. The spirit of Christianity proclaims the brotherhood of the race, and the meaning of that strong word has not been left to guesswork, but made tremendously definite. The Christian must forgive his brother man all crimes he can imagine and commit, and all insults he can conceive and utter. Forgive these injuries how many times? 70 times 7. Another way to say there's no limit to this forgiveness. That is the spirit and the law of Christianity. Well, patriotism also has its laws, and it's also perfectly definite. There's no vagueness about it. It commands that the brother over the border shall be sharply watched and brought to book every time he does us a hurt or offends us with an insult. Word it as softly as you please. The spirit of patriotism is the spirit of the dog and the wolf. The moment there is a misunderstanding about a boundary line or a hamper of fish or some other squalid matter, see patriotism rise and hear him split the universe with a war whoop. The spirit of patriotism, being in nature jealous and selfish, is just in man's line. It comes natural to him. He can live up to all the requirements to the letter, but the spirit of Christianity is not in its entirely possible to him. The prayers concealed in what I have been saying is not that patriotism should cease, and not that the talk about universal brotherhood should cease, but that the incongruous firm be dissolved and that each limb of it be required to transact business by itself for the future.
So I found my inspiration in this classic Shel Silverstein, Where the Sidewalk Ends. This is very short. It's called Hug of War. I will not play at tug of war. I'd rather play at hug of war, where everyone hugs instead of tugs, where everyone giggles and rolls on the rug, where everyone kisses and everyone grins and everyone cuddles and everyone wins.
So, good morning, everyone. This is from Gloria Anzaldúa, who was a Chicana feminist and poet and cultural theorist. And it's about what we think of as the melting pot. It's about being, she developed this concept of the borderlands. She lived on the Mexico-Texas border and was herself a borderlands person. To live in the borderlands. To live in the borderlands means you are neither Hispana, India, Negra, Española, ni gabacha, eres mestiza, mulata, half-breed, caught in the crossfire between camps, while carrying all 5 races on your back, not knowing which side to turn to or run from. To live in the borderlands means knowing that the India in you, betrayed for 500 years, is no longer speaking to you. The Mexicanas called you rajetas, that denying the Anglo inside you is as bad as having denied the Indian or black. Cuando vives en la frontera, people walk through you. The wind steals your voice. You're a burra, bui, scapegoat, forerunner of a new race, half and half both, woman and man, neither a new gender. To live in the borderlands means to put chile in the borscht, to eat whole wheat tortillas, speak Tex-Mex with a Brooklyn accent, be stopped by la migra at the border checkpoints. Living in the borderlands means you fight hard to resist the gold elixir beckoning from the bottle, the pull of the gun barrel, the rope crushing the hollow of your throat. In the borderlands, you are the battleground, where enemies are kin to each other. You are at home a stranger. The border disputes have been settled. The volley of shots have scattered the truce. You are wounded. lost in action, dead, fighting back. To live in the borderlands means the mill with the razor-white teeth wants to shred off your olive-red skin, crush out the kernel, your heart, pound you, pinch you, roll you out, smelling like white bread, but dead. To survive the borderlands, you must live sin fronteras, be a crossroads. That's Gloria Anzaldúa.
Good morning. Mike Chapin's the name, and happy almost 4th of July. This is a quote that I found online from a person that I know not who this is, Camilla Elves. And upon Googling her, she is better known as Mrs. Matt McConaughey. And she's a Brazilian-American, been a citizen since 2001. And this is, and I might add that she is very active in a group called Women of Today, as she was the founder. So this is the quote. People in power are trying to convince us that the villain in our American story is each other. But that is not our story. That is not who we are. That's not our America. Our United States of America is not about us versus them. It's about we the people. I thought that was pretty good for today's times with all the infighting and such.
Morning. My name is Linda Phippen. This comes from a Phil Oakes song that I don't recall ever having heard, but it goes like this. Come on and take a walk with me through this green and growing land. Walk through the meadows and the mountains and the sand. Walk through the valleys and the rivers and the plains. Walk through the sun and walk through the rain. Here's a land full of power and glory, beauty that words cannot recall. Oh, her power shall rest on the strength of her freedom. Her glory shall rest on us all. From Colorado, Kansas, the Carolinas too, Virginia and Alaska, from the old to the new, Texas and Ohio and the California shore. Tell me, who could ask for more? Yet she's only as rich as the poorest of the poor, only as free as a padlocked prison door, only as strong as our love for this land, only as tall as we stand. And it goes back to the chorus. Here's a land full of power and glory, beauty that words cannot recall. Oh, her power shall rest on the strength of her freedom. Her glory shall rest on us all.
I know Pete Seeger has a beautiful musical version of that last, The Power and Glory, I think it's called. I'm Jerry, for the few of you who don't know. I guess Woody Guthrie said, this land is your land, this land is my land. But I wonder how inclusive his we was. Who is us? Who are you and I? That makes me think of this little bit of a land acknowledgement that one of my Sierra Club friends came up with recently, and I'm going to read part of it. I humbly make a land acknowledgement. I would like to recognize and acknowledge the indigenous peoples of this land, including those present today and those expelled or destroyed by European invasion, and honor with gratitude the land itself and the people who had stewarded it through the generations. This acknowledgement calls us to commit to continuing to learn how to be better stewards of the land we inhabit as well. We are gathered today on the forcibly taken land of the Cherokee and other native tribes. Join me in acknowledging the indigenous community, their elders, both past and present, as well as future generations. We are here as a result of a long history of invasion, expropriation, genocide, and racism. This acknowledgement demonstrates a commitment to beginning the process of working to dismantle the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism. While a land acknowledgement is not enough, it is an important social justice and decolonial practice that promotes indigenous visibility and a reminder that we are on settled indigenous land. Let this land acknowledgement be an opening for all of us to contemplate a way to join in decolonial and indigenous movements for sovereignty and self-determination. So the people whose lands we now occupy are part of this land is your land, this land is my land also.
Well, my name is Ellen Greenwood. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. And first of all, I want to thank Jerry for that land acknowledgement. I thought that was beautiful and very meaningful, or should be, for us. I didn't think I had anything this morning. I had looked several times during this week, and nothing seemed right. And so I was looking at my coffee mug, and it has, famous UUs, or Unitarians at least, names on there. And Kurt Vonnegut's name caught my eye, and he's one of my favorite writers, and I do remember that he was a Unitarian, and I thought, oh, I'll see. Surely Kurt Vonnegut said something that I would like, and it's perfect for me because I was a librarian before I retired, and I love books or any form of book, whatever form it's in, and so this is what he had to say. And on the subject of burning books, I want to congratulate librarians. See, how could I? It's a little bit self-serving, I agree. Not famous for their physical strength or their powerful political connections or their great wealth, who all over this country have staunchly resisted anti-democratic bullies who have tried to remove certain books from their shelves and have refused to reveal to thought police the names of persons who have checked out those titles. So the American I loved still exists, if not in the White House or the Supreme Court or the Senate or the House of Representatives or the media. The America I love still exists at the front desks of our public libraries. Hopefully.
My reading, I think, is one you probably are familiar with, but I thought it was appropriate at this time. And it's, well, to start off, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world was the Colossus at Rhodes. And that's no longer there. It's been gone many, I guess, centuries probably. But this poem is called The New Colossus. It's by Emma Lazarus, who wrote it in 1883. Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land. Here at our Siwa sunset gate shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name, Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbor that twin cities frame. Keep, ancient lands, your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips. Give me, your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I'll lift my light beside the golden door.
I'm David Howell, as many of you know. So I went and looked for something, and I was sure I could find some kind of quote by Abraham Lincoln. I mean, he's said enough famous things, but he was either too wordy or things were too short. But then I ran into the House divided speech. I was surprised that he made that in 1856, 4 years before he was elected. You know it all. The House divided cannot stand. A nation divided will not stand. It will become all one or all the other. And I was simply struck by how similar that is to what things are like today. And if there is a voice that is surely ours to make, is to not be on one side or the other, but to say that what's the worst is for one side or the other side to completely take over. And if anybody's going to speak for some kind of a way in which very different voices, as much as we, certainly I, may disagree with some of them, that they can be something which we can recognize come from deep feelings and deep needs, and we must listen to them.
Well, this is kind of a stretch, but with apologies to Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, early American poet. Beneath the spread, and this was I composed this back in the pre-vaccine days of COVID days. Beneath the spreading chestnut tree, the village smithy stood. He worked the iron with coal and fire, and all without a hood. Now smithy's gone, the chestnut too. This question I now ask, how long before you join them too, if out without a mask?
Suzanne Molnar. This is going to be odd. It's kind of 19th century, I guess it would be, patriotism, but it's not exactly patriotism. It's more a plea to save a piece of the nation's history. And it was Oliver Wendell Holmes. I'm pretty sure, I'm just pulling this from memory, so I used to remember things well when I was young. It's Old Ironsides. Anybody know Old Ironsides? Anybody old enough to know? 2, 3. Okay. It was, Old Ironsides was an old sailing warship that was over age, and apparently the USS Constitution, I think it was going to be decommissioned and torn apart for scrap, and Holmes thought this was really a shame. So I tear her tattered ensign down, long has it waved on high. 19th century, right? Wonderful. And many an eye has danced to see that banner waving in the sky. Its deck once wet with hero's blood, where knelt the vanquished foe, when the winds were hurrying o'er the flood and the waves were white below. No more shall feel the victor's tread, nor know the conquered knee. The harpies of the shore shall pluck the eagle of the sea. Oh, better that her shattered hulk should sink beneath the wave. Her thunder shook the mighty deep, and there should be her grave. Nail to the mast her holy flag, and set each threadbare sail, and give it to the god of storms, the lightning and the gale. The follow-up to this was children and other people raising the money to have the ship pulled, turned into a museum. Just, it's an odd little piece of patriotism, and it's the only one I know by heart, so.
The ship resides at Boston Harbor, and you can go visit it.
It is the Constitution, right?
Yes, there's that Constitution, all around the house.
Yeah, but that 40 years.
That's hard to follow. I was thinking it was the nickname of some general. I'm like, I know that name, but yeah. So this is something that I had I had forgotten that I had found, if that makes sense. A lot of people, a lot of the men especially, and some of the women in my adoptive family are, there's a strong tradition of military service. And as such, there tends to be like this binary way of thinking. You don't criticize the United States, go USA, and if you do, you're either a commie or way too young to know better, or any of those things. So I remember I found this, and I revisit it probably about every 3 years, but I couldn't find it this morning when I was looking, and then one of you put a spark and it came up. So many of you are familiar with the author and activist James Baldwin, and he was criticized by other so-called much better patriots like William F. Buckley, who called him, who said he was, where are my glasses? Oh, darn it. 1 second. Two is perfect. Love you. Okay. William F. Buckley Jr. called Baldwin an American hater who was hell-bent on throwing over civilization. I mean, those are pretty heavy words. But to his mind, and a lot of other thinkers of the time, his critique was that his critique of our country was not rooted in hatred or destruction, but in love. So Baldwin says, he wrote this in 1962, "Societies never know it, but the war of an artist with his society is a lover's war, and he does at his best what lovers do, which is to reveal the beloved to himself, and with that revelation make freedom real. It is precisely because I love America more than any other country in the world, and exactly for this reason I insist on the right to criticize her perpetually."
So is there anybody who has not yet come up and done a reading who would like to? Yes. James, come on.
So good morning, everyone. I'm James, and not a member here, but I've been here a couple times. I've visited a couple times. So as we celebrate, Independence Day, it kind of invokes a lot of different thoughts. So when we think of independence, we think freedom, opportunity, security, privilege, things of that nature. So what I'm going to read is short and sweet. It's from Thomas Paine. So just think of those kind of synonyms when I use the word freedom. Think of security, right? Privilege, opportunity, so on. So those who expect to reap the benefits, blessings of freedom must also endure the fatigue of supporting it. So.
Anyone else? Okay, before we close out the service, I'd like to say a heartfelt thank you to Anne, Harvey, and Michelle. Right, and okay, David, thank you for working in the kitchen to make the pancakes. And yeah, thank you. And to Nathan Schulman for bringing the maple syrup, which I know we all love, and that always goes first. So thank you very much for everyone who's helped with this service. It's definitely a team effort, no doubt about it.
And thank you to Chris for doing it every year.
Thank you. Thank you. So as we close out our service, I will extinguish our physical chalice here. Are we going to sing? Does the choir want to lead us in This Land Is Your Land? Can you do that? Okay, well, let's do that before we extinguish the chalice then, in that case.
Everybody knows the chorus.
So now we'll say, as we extinguish our chalice, We extinguish the physical light, but we do not extinguish the light of love or community that we will take with us into the world until we meet again next week. Thank you.